Hi everyone, my name's Anthony. I'm a quiet guy who got involved in adventures against my will, and adventures that have come at the cost of my freedom. Yes, you got it right. I was a suspect in a crime. I would never have thought that this could happen to a 17-year-old. As a teenager who's never broke the law, I'm super obedient. Well, in general, I don't torment people for a long time. Anyway, I'll tell you everything now, and in the meantime, sit back and listen to my story to the end and see what you think. My friends call me Tony, just so you understand. I don't have many of them. Many people think I'm boring. For example, that night my classmates threw a party in honour of the upcoming exams. Well, like a little relax and stop thinking about studying for one evening. For me personally, this evening was the beginning of the end. My friend Poe is a very bright person. Actually, it's strange we even became friends. He's got dreadlocks, wide pants, and I've always dressed more modestly. So anyway, at school, about the upcoming party. Hey Tony, are you going there today? Almost everyone's going. Almost. And who else has the good sense not to waste time? Only you have that. So when you say almost, you mean me alone? Yeah, well, shall we go? It will be cool there. Erica's parents are gone, and she has a mansion the size of a street. Enough space for everyone. I'm afraid I definitely don't belong there. Come on, it's the last year of school. You've never hung out. Let's go. I don't even really know her. It doesn't matter anymore. Okay, I'll think about it. After school, I came home, sat on the bed, and thought about it for a long time. Then a message from Poe came. Well, what are you doing there? Are you coming? Then my father came into the room. He asked how things were going, and then he noticed a message from a friend. And where are you going? To the party, but I don't know if I should go. You've never gone anywhere. Maybe you should try it. It's just not for me. You say that even though you've never tried it. Maybe it's your mother's fault, and mine. At first maybe we thought, you're too young to let you go anywhere and everywhere. But now we understand that you're sitting in your room for the best years. Think about it, son. Maybe my father was right about something. In the end, I packed up and went to Erica's. The party was super noisy, lots of people, everything I don't like. But I promised Tony to relax. As soon as we got there, my best friend emerged from the crowd. I just walked around the rooms and looked at people. Then the wild dancing started. And then I was pushed, which made me even more uncomfortable. So then I just went outside. I found an interesting little ladder, climbed up to the roof, and it turned out I was not alone. Erica was sitting there, crying. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was no one here. No, it's okay. Sit down. This is my favourite place. I'm surprised you found it. Good party. Is that why you came here? Well, I mean, relax. It's okay. What is it? In her hands, Erica held a very interesting book, like a little notebook, and she held it very tightly. She said that it's her personal diary. I'm writing here about something I can't tell anyone. This is a good way. I also keep diaries, but then I stopped. It's like I'm shifting a load from the soul of the pages and then I'm released. I've seen you before, haven't I? Are you Tony? Yes, I've seen you too. Only once, I think. Then a few noisy kids suddenly came up to our roof. They interrupted the quiet conversation, then lifted us up and forced us down. We were reunited with our friends. I knew I had to leave then, so I walked home. Poe stayed. The next day, Erica wasn't at school, and Poe was telling me how cool the party had been. A day later, Erica's parents came to our school with the police. They interviewed everyone who was at the party at the home. It turned out their daughter had disappeared that same night, and the parents were getting very concerned. Something told me something was seriously wrong. I told the police that I hadn't been to the party, really, but I did mention that Erica and I had talked. After school, I went to their house. Whilst they were away, I climbed up onto the roof and I found her diary. I took it and then I went home. Now, I knew it was indecent to read someone else's stuff, but I had no choice, in case something went wrong with Erica. From the notes, it became clear that there was a rift in her family, and she could not bear the thought of her father and mother getting divorced. That was the last thing she wrote. I took the diary to my school locker so my parents wouldn't find it, but I had a surprise waiting for me. On the same day, someone told me that they saw Erica and I on the roof. The police called me and asked why I'd lied. Now that was the reason they checked my locker and found her diary. Now, Tony, why did you lie? What were you guys talking about? Nothing, just talking. Then why didn't you tell me right away? I kind of forgot, and I went home afterwards. Your mum said that you came home at 2 a.m. The party ended at 1. Why did it take you so long to get home? Because I was walking? I'm afraid you're in trouble if you don't tell us the truth. Where's Erica? I said I didn't know where she was, that we barely knew each other. that I had no idea why she was missing and where she was. But they didn't believe me. My parents were also spoken to by the police, but they didn't know anything at all. Then, a couple of days later, the police came to our house, and they said I was the last person that Erica spoke to, because no one saw her after that. We were really on edge. A couple of days later, I was officially made a suspect. Allegedly, either I did something with her or hid her. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. My mother promised the police to talk to me, to give me just one day to find something out. But I had nothing new for her. I sat at home and remembered at least one little thing from the diary, but I couldn't remember anything more. From my personal experience of keeping a diary, I knew that there had to be another one, and to check it out, I went back to her house. So that's what I did. I got into her room through those same stairs. No one was home at the time. The parents had organised a search party. I went in and started looking to see where she might have hidden the diary. After about 20 minutes, I noticed a creak under the floor, one of the floorboards. I opened it and saw the diary. Bingo! I eagerly dug into the notes. I began to read everything carefully. And the secret place. I found the plan for her disappearance. Whilst I was at her house, the police had realised that I was away from home, and they'd created a plan to intercept me. Funny, like I'm a real maniac. Then they started looking in different parts of the city for me. Meanwhile, I found a secret door in the basement. I went down, and there she was. What are you doing here? Do you even know that you've made me a criminal, and the entire police force in the city is looking for me and trying to arrest me? What? I just wanted to sit down here, scare my parents. It seemed to me that my loss would unite them, and they would not divorce. You're right, they are united against me. Please forgive me, I really didn't think this would happen. I hope you understand me. Quite, I do. Eric and I spoke, and then we left the house, just as the police and my parents were already in the yard. They had found my bike, and they were almost ready to stop me with guns. In summary, it was a very long night. Erica was crying, apologising to her parents. Anyway, I'm very glad that everything has resolved itself, and that I found her. Such stress to survive, and before the exams. That's not what you wish for, is it? In general, everything's fine now, guys. I'm still not sure whether parties are evil or not, but next time I'll think and make the decision by myself. Tell me, guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below. Do not forget to put your likes, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.
I used to think that people who kept a personal diary were weird. I thought that only the lonely or the crazy did it. I thought so until I came across it myself. My diary not only listened to my problems, but thanks to it, I didn't make a mistake. You could say that my diary saved my life, but in return, my parents learned all my secrets. So, I'm Stella. I have parents and an older brother whose name is Justin, by the way. Our age difference is 6 years. Yes, this is the age when there can be no common interests between us. My brother always liked to play alone as a child. When I tried to join him, taking cars or soldiers without asking, just got really mad. He immediately threw a hysterics so that I would take my hands away, or better yet, go to another room and never visit him. I immediately cried and ran to complain about it to my mother. I cried out in tears that he had offended me and said he didn't want to see me. Oh, my mother always gave him a thrashing after that. I remember her always telling him that he was the eldest and should be more lenient with me. I didn't quite understand the phrase, but it was a good one. Yes, I was happy when my brother got beaten from my parents because of me. Being the youngest in the family is a pleasure. Everyone loves you, brings you all the most delicious things, often takes you to an amusement park, buys toys. All the attention goes to the little ones, and this always happens. Once, when my parents went to visit Aunt May in the hospital, Jess and I stayed home. My parents said we shouldn't go with them. My brother was left in charge. As soon as Dad's car disappeared around the corner, Jess told me to go to my room, play with my dolls, and not leave until the adults returned. I knew he meant it, and I pretended to agree to everything. After 10 minutes, I left the room and went to my brother, but he was not in his room, in the living room, or in the kitchen. Then I went out to the back and saw him smoking. When my parents arrived, I naturally told my mother about it and showed her where he hid a pack of cigarettes as proof. Yes, I saw it too. Oh, Justin's face was red with anger at that moment, but I couldn't forgive him for his attitude towards me. War is war. At this point, I came up with a brilliant idea to write down all of my brother's joints to keep a diary, so I could then ask him for anything in return for the diary. As I planned, so I did. Records, that is, dirt became even more. We could only wait for more to accumulate. I already imagined that in return for the diary, Justin buys me a house for Barbie, which I have long dreamed of. But then something unexpected happened. Remember Aunt May? So she went back to the hospital for her procedures. She had a daughter, my little cousin Cindy. Her aunt asked her parents to look after her while she was away, and they, of course, agreed. I can't say that I was upset. We had a normal relationship, but since she came to our house, I felt that her parents paid more attention to her. At first, it looked like a sign of courtesy and respect, then it started to cross the line. Now I was in my brother's place. Whenever I wanted to play with my toys, Cindy would come to my room and ask me to join her. I was angry because I didn't want to share. I sent her away several times. But then my mom and dad called me in. For about 30 minutes, they scolded me for my behavior, saying she was small and I should be more lenient. What? Small? Am I small? And what the hell does it mean to be condescending? Why do they say the same things to me as my brother? I couldn't believe Cindy had taken my place. I didn't know where to vent this anger, so I started writing everything down in my diary, so it was easier. Meanwhile, the hatred grew. Cindy had been with us too long, and it was as if my parents had found a replacement for me. They've never done this before. I was a little girl. I was loved. I was so offended that I felt superfluous, unnecessary, and decided to leave the house. Before I knew it, I was writing down all my thoughts and feelings in my diary. It turns out it's easier this way. In my last entry, I wrote a farewell note and left the diary in my closet. By the time they find it and read it, I'll be far away. I packed my bag and ran out of the backyard and down the road. I walked slowly about 2 blocks and heard a familiar voice. Justin was shouting my name. When I waited for him, he came at me like a madman. I saw tears in his eyes for the first time. He was talking fast, telling me not to get all this crap and come home, and then he said that he loved me very much. I was surprised and started to cry too. I'd never seen him cry, and I didn't think he was so worried about me. I thought he didn't care about me. Just talked me into coming home. It turns out that when I went out through the backyard, he was standing there smoking. When he saw me, he decided to find the diary. I knew you would blackmail me with it, and I wanted to read it, but I came across the last entry. Look, Monica, we fight a lot, but know that you are my family, and I love you, sis, he said. This was unexpected. Then he immediately began to laugh it off, saying that I would not hear anything like it again. I still won't share my toys with you. You're breaking everything, he said, smiling. When we got home, he calmed me down and put me to bed. And when my parents came home from work, I told them everything. At first, they were taken aback with horror. My mother was hysterical. She scolded me first, then hugged me and cried. I kept saying that something might have happened to me if Justin hadn't found the diary in time and run after me. This reaction was to be expected. I burst into tears and told her that it was because of my jealousy of Cindy. Mom and Dad apologized for not paying attention. They explained that they felt sorry for Cindy and tried to help her be stronger while her mother was in the hospital. My mother made me promise not to do this again and tell her about all my experiences. By the way, Cindy's mother went on the mend and soon took her daughter home. I realized that if you hide your inner resentment, the situation only gets worse. Therefore, it is better to share your experiences with your family.